The Bowel were discovered quite by accident. A research team was documenting an ancient race known as the Granae. The Granae existed approximately 7 million years ago and appeared to be a militaristic empire focused on expansion through conflict. It is from data crystals discovered at a Granae dig site that we first learn of the Baol and their conflict with the Granae. According to the Granae data and our own archaeological discoveries, the Baol were a plantoid hive mind at least 10 million years old. They appear to have originated from a single planet and evolved from plant life native to that world. It seems the prehistoric Baol were all clones and gradually developed the capacity for hive consciousness over millions of years in a slow, peaceful growth on their home world. Although clearly very alien to our own biology, the Baol were sentient and very capable. We know they developed the ability to traverse the stars and settle on other worlds. They did this through a remarkable integration of organic technology, building organic structures with materials that would rival the best our own engineers could produce today. We also know that they were very long-lived, surviving for hundreds of Earth years. We also know they occupied multiple worlds and had an empathic ability to communicate across vast distances. It's unclear precisely how the messages were sent between the individual Baol units, but there does not appear to be any distance that prevented communication. Furthermore, there is evidence of Baol biotechnology in the form of biocomputers dating back at least 10 million years. These biocomputers appear to be used as a teaching device for immature members of the Baol species, i.e. those not yet ready for full integration into the hive. The biocomputer contains data for techniques for growth, horticulture, and nutrition. This suggests that the Baol prized terraforming techniques above all else, which makes sense as we would assume that they would have been highly dependent on their environment for their own survival. Sadly for the Baol, the Granae did not appreciate the majesty of their race. Although in many ways the Baol were advanced, it seems they did not have much in the way of defending themselves from a technologically advanced spacefaring civilization. Multiple examples of Granae cruelty and aggression have been identified. Upon first encountering the Baol, the Granae designated them worthy of their attention. The Baol's plentiful resources are referenced, but given the Granae methods of war, it seems acquiring the resource was not the primary objective. The first encounter between the two races was a morbid affair. The world we identified as Haribas 2A is a dry, barren world totally devoid of all atmosphere and life. It also has a near endless trove of fossilized remains. Many of these, as it turns out, are the Baol. It seems the Granae did not want the resources of Haribas 2, as instead of invading, they firebombed the entire planet from orbit, causing a planet-wide inferno destined to decimate the world. Widespread deforestation caused a catastrophic disruption in the planet's ecosystem, and a lack of oxygen-fixing vegetation caused the planet's atmosphere to deplete over the next 60,000 years, resulting in a dry, dead world. The second documented encounter was no less violent than the first. Upon arrival at the coordinates in the Granae records, we did not find a planet, rather the remains of one. It seems the Granae did not wish to wait for firebombs this time and opted instead to crack the planet entirely. The Granae speak very poorly of the Baol organism, describing it as feeble and slow to react. It seems any defense the Baol had was easily swept aside. The third discovery concerning this conflict was an intact planet. This surprised our scientists considering the destruction at the previous two sites. It seems the Granae had grown tired of extermination and instead switched to slavery. It is unclear how long this world was occupied by the Granae, but fossil records suggest they lived side by side with the Baol for many centuries. Interestingly, the Baol fossil records begins to shift after a few hundred years of occupation. The Baol neurological structure underwent a dramatic change, and if our interpretation is correct, the Baol began to lose the ability to communicate and connect as a hive mind. It is unclear if this made them unable to function as slaves, or if these units were developing individuality. Considering the circumstance, perhaps the former is correct, but sadly, we will never know. It was on this same planet a distress signal was identified for what seemed to be a Granae research facility, and it was here that the greatest and yet most chilling discovery was made. Deep in the dilapidated ruins of the time-worn Granae research facility, among the long-defunct computer panels and deteriorated research equipment, a specimen was found. Pin-cushioned by nutrient tubes and critically failing life support systems lay one single organism, what we believed to be the last of the Baol. Miraculously, it was still alive, surrounded by the sludgy remains of other specimens in a row of cracked and leaking vats. More wondrous than the discovery itself, the specimen had the ability to communicate and began to engage with us. It seemed to undertake a great effort to communicate with us, taking minutes to form sentences. The last of the Baol spoke with great sadness. It spoke poetically of what it referred to as the burners, describing the destruction they caused, and speaking with great regret regarding its inability to react quickly enough as their planets were burnt to ash. It was a moving tale and provoked soul-searching of how we treat other races deemed to be less than ourselves. Unfortunately, millennia of living alone in a vat surrounded by the death and decay of its kin had left this Baol wanting peace. It is frankly remarkable that a being could withstand such an abhorrent existence and remain sentient to the end. The machine keeping the Baol alive was switched off per its wishes, and the last of a long-forgotten race passed on. However, this is not the end of the story. Within this research facility, the Granae had been working on a technology to clone the Baol, we believe in order to use them as livestock and perhaps to exploit their wondrous terraforming abilities. Our lead scientists have taken this research and hope to finish what the Granae started, thus reviving the Baol from extinction. I can only hope that they are properly integrated into our empire and treated with the reverence and dignity that they deserve. If you enjoyed this video and you wish to learn about the Zeroni, the first to enter the Shroud, then please click the video on screen now.